I've tried a lot of different keyboards. Some were gaming centered, others productivity centered, and some were just for fun. Let's take a look at which keyboards I use as my daily drivers. Let's go. Throughout my time, I've had a fair amount of keyboards because I used to game a lot, like a lot. So I think I've had around 40 keyboards as of now. I gotta be honest, I've destroyed a few because I got so furious at some of the games I was playing. So a handful is completely gone. But I've also sold a lot of them, either because I didn't like them or because I just thought that I had too many. So now I think I'm only left with 4 or 5 keyboards. These were the ones I could find at least. And these 3 are the ones that I use almost daily. So what do I use when? As my daily driver, I use this productivity keyboard from Dell. It's a full-size keyboard that runs on AAA batteries. The keys are extremely low profile like any other productivity keyboard. It does, however, come with a few nice features. Up in the corner on the right side, there's a sync button where you can connect 2 devices through Bluetooth, and you can also connect through a USB-A connector. And just by pressing the button, you are able to switch between the different modes. This feature is nice if you have multiple devices you want to connect to, because apart from using this keyboard for my PC, I also use it for my Lenovo laptop, sometimes. And then it's just as simple as pressing the button till you're in the right mode, and then it just works. Even though the connection is supposed to be better with a USB-A connector, I just use Bluetooth on both my PC and laptop, since I really don't notice a difference in the latency at all, which is just great. The keyboard is fairly cheap, but actually doesn't feel that cheap. The bottom is definitely made of plastic, but the top part is made of some sort of metal that doesn't show fingerprints at all. The keys does, however, show fingerprints, which is to be expected. I bought the keyboard in a pack with a mouse. However, I don't use the mouse. For daily use, I either use the Logitech MX Master 3 with a BenQ GSR SE mousepad, or I use a Wacom Intuos Pro Medium tablet. This is since the mouse is way more ergonomic and comfortable, and the tablet is usually just mostly for whenever I create something in Photoshop, which I do daily, by the way. So I tend to switch between the two. Apart from what I've already mentioned about the keyboard, then there's nothing too special about it, other than it's an ISO layout, which is probably not something a lot of US citizens sees every day. But I'm from Denmark, so to be able to write the easiest in my native language, I kinda need the layout to be a bit different. But that's just a part of the game. Like I mentioned earlier, I used to game a lot, so I've been through a lot of different mechanical keyboards, like the SteelSeries QCK, Razer Huntsman, this Asus ROG Strix keyboard, and a whole lot more. Right now, I don't have a gaming setup in my office anymore, since I've recently switched out my gaming monitors for these 2 Dell ultra-sharp 32-inch monitors, which is way better for color correction and color work, which I do more of these days. But before I got those Dell monitors, I had some Asus 240Hz monitors, which I actually still have laying around somewhere here in my office. I think they're over there. They've been great for gaming the last 7 to 8 years, and I'm probably gonna put them up somewhere again soon, so that I actually have the ability to game on something with a high refresh rate, which these monitors aren't. Plus, 32 inches is a bit big for gaming. Just my opinion. Let's get back to the matter at hand. For my gaming keyboard, I've actually chosen to use this glorious GMMK Pro keyboard with a cold cable I have laying around somewhere here, right here. It's a semi-build-yourself keyboard. The reason I call it a semi is because you actually don't build it from scratch. You just need to buy a chassis, some switches and some keycaps, and then you're good to go. I've seen that a lot of people kinda hate on it, but I actually really like it a lot. The sound and the feel is at least way better than any of the other mechanical keyboards that I've had. The one keyboard I've had which I really couldn't stand was the Razer Huntsman from, I think it was 2018 or 19. That keyboard had a horrible sound with a massive reverb when pressing a key down, so that wasn't a good experience. I can't say if the newer versions is better, since I haven't tried them, but nothing can be worse than that keyboard. Ew. This keyboard I have here does, however, have a great control of the reverb coming from the chassis. It's very well controlled. The nice thing about this glorious GMMK Pro keyboard is that you don't have to assemble that much, since you just have to put in some switches and some keycaps, and then you have a great keyboard. The switches from Glorious is looped already, so you don't even have to do that. I've tried to both put in some link switches and some Panda switches in the keyboard to kind of figure out which ones I liked the most. The link switches is more like a red linear switch, where the Panda switch is more like a brown tactile switch. And it is actually brown, which is nice. Right now I have the Panda switches in the keyboard, and I think I'm gonna stick with them since I prefer the small amount of feedback that the tactile switches make. But it's very much personal preference in that regard. I'll only use this for gaming simply because I use the numpad on my productivity keyboard a lot in programs like Premiere Pro and After Effects. So it simply doesn't work as my main driver. One of the nice things about choosing this keyboard from Glorious is also that you have software available. So if you want to change lighting effects or switch out key functions, it's easily done in their software. I've also noticed that I type faster on a mechanical keyboard like this, and I actually don't know what does that. But it's nice to know that if I ever need to go into a typing competition of some sort, I should just use this keyboard. Before I switched to my productivity keyboard, I actually used to use a hybrid keyboard from Logitech, which I used as my daily driver for like 5 years, I think. This was the Logitech G915 TKL in white. I had the same keyboard but in the black version before this one, and I also had the full-size version, which my brother now has. So I really like this keyboard. The reason for why I think this was such a great option for me in such a long time is simply because that it's a hybrid between a mechanical keyboard and a productivity keyboard. It has low profile mechanical switches, which does take a little more force than this one from Glorious, but it ain't that noticeable when you use it. Just like the productivity keyboard, you are able to use the keyboard with multiple devices through Bluetooth and a USB-A connector. The USB-A connector is, however, sending a much faster signal between the transmitter and the receiver through Logitech's Lightspeed technology. So it's a great option for gaming as well as productivity. You can also download Logitech's G-Hub software, where you can customize the lighting and key functions, which is always neat. Underneath the keyboard, it has 2 stands folded up into each other, which easily can be folded out and put into your desired height. But I've always just had it flat on the table, since this is the way I liked to have it. The build quality is absolutely amazing, even though most of it is made of plastic. But believe me, I've tested it plenty, since I've dropped it numerous times when I've had it with me for LAN parties or just gaming out of town. It really only has minor scratches. It might not hold up if you throw it into the ground, however, so try not to do that. The reason I mentioned the keyboard in this video is because I might still go back to it once in a while, because damn, it has been a great keyboard with great functionality. So would I still recommend it? Oh yeah! Well, I will mention quite fast that on my laptop I of course mostly use the built-in keyboard, and on my iPad I do also mostly use the Magic Keyboard, which is Apple's own keyboard. You have to buy it separately, but it's kinda the same as a laptop. Apart from that, then I think this is all the different keyboards I use daily, or kinda daily. So if you liked the video, I would as always really appreciate it if you left a thumbs up and a subscription to my channel. And then I'll just say, see you in the next one. I'm out.